This is News Talk 980 CKNW.
All right, time now for our Boughton Law Legal Series, and a reminder that Boughton Law is CKNW's on-air legal analyst for 2015, giving us the lowdown on legal solutions in business and in life. And, of course, this discussion does not constitute legal advice per se. And welcome to the studio today, BC's former Attorney General, former Justice Wally Opal, QC. Hello, Wally. How are you, man?
Hey, Sean. It's so good to talk to you again.
Yeah.
It's we had a lot of fun over in Victoria.
I miss you here,
Well,
Wally.
you know what? I miss you guys too. You and Vaughn and Keith and all the guys.
Oh.
And I think I was the best guy in all your
I think
scrums.
you were.
Yeah?
We used to have scrums that went on 20 minutes, and then I would have like 7 stories to write out of that 20. Wally, you kept us busy, but also happy.
I never ever evaded any of your questions.
No, you sure didn't. I always wondered if your handlers were like just ripping their hair out.
Well, I drove all the handlers crazy. That's what happened, Sean.
Well, you were a hell of a good guy in terms of answering questions. I appreciate it. Wally, and I know one of the issues that's always been close to your heart, and even when you were in politics, is, you know what, not every dispute has to go to the courtroom. Tell us about this and why this is important to you, Wally.
Well, Sean, you know, it's expensive to go into court. It's time-consuming. There are delays in our court system. The rules are formal. The atmosphere in a courtroom is difficult and really overwhelming and intimidating for a lot of people. So more and more people are going outside the traditional court system in order to resolve their disputes. It's easier to go to mediation, go to arbitration, or a combination of the two, because it's informal, a lot more informal. For instance, in a mediation, if there's a dispute about a commercial dispute, a motor vehicle dispute, a family dispute, or anything of that sort, it's easier to get a mediator who will, at the behest of both parties, and that person will sit down with you in a more informal environment, in a somebody's office, and ask each of the parties what they hope to gain from the dispute. So it's easier on the parties, less expensive, less formality, to resolve their disputes in that type of environment.
Absolutely. Okay, so when we talk about, Wally, alternative dispute resolution, or ADR, is this what we're talking about?
Yes, essentially we're talking about mediation and arbitration. Now, mediation involves the parties selecting a mediator, an independent mediator, who brings the parties together and tries to resolve the issues in an informal environment. In an arbitrator, on the other hand, is also picked by the parties, but in an arbitration, the arbitrator makes the decision. But again, it is in a less formal environment. So it's easier to deal with. You know, it's a lot of stress, Sean, to go into a courtroom.
For sure.
And lawyers will tell you that. Judges will tell you that. So it makes a lot more sense to go in and retain a mediator or an arbitrator and resolve your disputes in that particular way.
So who can take advantage of this? Is it just big companies, Wally?
Anybody can. And it's particularly beneficial to people who, ordinary people, so they don't have to spend a lot of money on lawyers. You can have a lawyer, and obviously it helps to have a lawyer in a mediation and an arbitration. But it's easier to resolve the disputes before a mediator or an arbitrator. I'll give you an example. I had a matter a while ago. So it was set for 20 days in court, and the parties came before me with experienced lawyers, and we resolved it in a day and a half. So it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. I resolved a wills dispute about a month ago, and it was set for 5 days in a courtroom, and we resolved it in 1 day.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, you let the parties speak their mind, you listen to them carefully, and you ask them what they hope to gain by the dispute, and then you go to the opposing party and you do the same thing. You know, labor disputes have been settled like that for years.
Yes.
Where labor mediators get parties before them, and in an informal environment, in a less acrimonious way, you settle disputes. You know, we use the apology method of doing it as well. We have an apology act in this province that was enacted actually when we were in government. And what that means is that people apologize, and people often go away with better feelings about the dispute than they do if they were in a courtroom.
Well, tell me about the role of apologies then, Wally, and how important that can be. And we see that, you're right, we've got the Apology Act. Governments now do apologize for historical wrongs and all that kind of thing. But how important are apologies in
very,
the
very
process?
important, Sean.
Yeah.
And I noticed, particularly in the policing work that I've done, many people who come and have disputes with the police are satisfied if police will give them a simple explanation as to what happened and why it happened, and an apology. People like to have apologies. If people recognize that whatever was done honestly, and apologize for it, people go away happier. And we sometimes, when in human behavior, we get our backs up and people don't want to apologize. And apologies go a long way to resolving disputes. And we have an apology act in this province. And what it really means is that if you've done something that you shouldn't have done, you can apologize without acquiring legal liability. An apology doesn't mean that you've admitted to legal fault.
Yes.
And that's the real advantage of an apology. And we encourage people to apologize where something has been done that shouldn't have been done.
I want to follow up on this. I want to talk about what the alternative dispute resolution process looks like from the ground, and what the Civil Resolution Tribunal is all about. But we'll take a quick break first. Our guest is Wally Opal, QC. It is our Boughton Law Legal Series, and we'll be back in a flash here on the Giant 98.
You're listening to News Talk 980 CKNW, Vancouver's News, Vancouver's Talk. Vancouver's News, Vancouver's Talk. This is News Talk 980 CKNW.
All right, coming up on 5:53 on a Wednesday afternoon, I'm Sean Leslie. We're in the midst of our Boughton Law Legal Series here. Boughton Law is CKNW's on-air legal analyst for 2015, giving us the lowdown on legal solutions in business and in life. A reminder that this discussion does not constitute legal advice. Today, though, we're talking about something I find fascinating. It is alternative dispute resolution, and our guest is Wally Opal, QC, former Attorney General of British Columbia, of course, former judge and senior counsel with Boughton Law. Wally, just for those who are just joining us right now, remind us what we're talking about. What is alternative dispute resolution?
Well, what we're really talking about, Sean, is that for people who are involved in a legal dispute, they can ask their lawyers to ask for a mediator or an arbitrator to settle the dispute and not go into a courtroom. And the reason for that is you will get in a lot quicker. That is, you'll get a mediator or an arbitrator a lot quicker than you will get a judge in the court system. And also, it is less formal, less expensive, more timely. So it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are certain disputes that have to go to court, and I'm not minimizing the importance of the court system.
Yes.
But what I'm really saying is that for the average dispute that takes place, family law, employment dispute, labor disputes, all of those matters are matters that most of all can be settled outside the courtroom in a less acrimonious way. And it makes a lot of sense to do that. In fact, we're encouraging, even in the court system, for people to mediate, to arbitrate, to go outside the court system before they come in to the courtroom. And it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. It's cheaper, quicker, and in the long run, parties can maintain good relationships even after the court issue, even after the legal dispute has been settled.
Yeah, no, you mentioned, family law, employment disputes. Can you do commercial disputes as well? I mean, is it pretty much the range of legal issues?
Just about everything.
Yeah.
Just about everything except the criminal law. And the criminal law doesn't make itself amenable to ADR, although guilty pleas are entered for disputes on lesser charges, and that it, in fact, is a form of ADR. But generally speaking, most of your civil legal disputes can now be settled outside a courtroom. And as you mentioned before the break, Sean, the Civil Resolution Tribunal
Yeah,
Act.
what is that? What is that, Wally?
Well, the province has done a really good thing here, in they've passed this act, and what that will do, it'll establish a new dispute resolution tribunal. It's an adjudicative body. You can resolve your property disputes, small claims disputes, and many of your condo disputes online. And it's a lot quicker, and this is just starting, and we'll have to see how it works itself out. But I have no doubt that this will be a lot better for people to resolve their disputes.
And maybe I'm getting too political with you now, Wally. You're not in the political game anymore, but man, I got to throw this at you. In terms of our court system, we've been talking about the convenience for people, for companies, for people involved in disputes of the ADR. We know our court system is also fairly burdened, right? It's very busy. Is it good overall for us, do you think, to try to get some of these disputes out of the very formal, provincial or supreme or civil courtrooms in this province?
Absolutely, Sean. I think it's better for all concerned. When I was the Attorney General, we had a huge movement towards resolving disputes outside a courtroom. People, Sean, who have disputes don't want to go into a courtroom and be subjected to lengthy cross-examinations and lengthy trials. No. They want a resolution. You want a decision. You want a fair decision. And by retaining a lawyer who will go before an arbitrator or a mediator, I think it's the right solution.
I think it is too. Wally, great to talk to you. How can people find out more, by the way?
Well, you can call us at Boughton Law. You can call the Law Society. You can call the Canadian Bar Association, and everybody will give you directions so that you can go in the right way to resolve your disputes.
Wally, great to talk to you, man.
Oh, it's good to see you. Good to talk to you again.
Absolutely.
Sean, give my best to all the colleagues over there in the ledge.
I sure will. Wally Opal, QC, former judge, former attorney general. Wally's now senior counsel for Boughton Law, and Boughton Law is CKNW's on-air legal analyst for 2015. BoughtonLaw.com is the website, by the way. You get all the information there at BoughtonLaw.com, including the phone number there if you want to give them a call. An alternate dispute resolution, I think, is a fantastic way to try to reduce the burden on our courts.